Thank you everybody for being here today, and thank you Natalie for being here on this great topic. So Caledon Community Services is a multi-service organization, and we bring in lots of volunteer guest speakers to talk about various topics. This particular one is related to employment services. A lot of times, job seekers come to work with us, and there's lots of different things that are going on for them. One of them happens to be stress. And the job search process, the interview process is a challenging one. So we have invited Natalie here to talk to us on 3 different topics. Today is completing the stress cycle. I'm very excited to have you here. I thank you very much for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Natalie, and I always like to start every single one of my sessions, whether it's group, individual, or anything, with just taking a really deep breath. So what we're going to do is we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to take a deep breath in for 3 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, and then breathe out for 3 seconds. Okay? So if everyone wants to do that with me, breathe in. And breathe out. We're going to do it 2 more times. Okay, so we're going to breathe in. And breathe out. All right, 1 more time. Everybody breathe in. And breathe out. So I always like to do that not only for you guys to feel more relaxed with me, but also for myself as a presenter, because it can be stressful being a presenter at times. I'm sure everybody knows this. But I would like to welcome you. I'm with True You Coaching, so I started my own coaching business. It's all about being yourself, being who you are, because that was something I struggled with for quite some time when I was, in my 20s and then now into my 30s. My journey kind of started back when I was doing my Bachelor of Science in Psychology from the University of Toronto. I thought for sure, I'm going to be a psychologist. That's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And then you find out you're in school and it costs a lot of money to continue on and be a psychologist. You have to get doctorates, you have to become residencies, a bunch of different things. And I thought, I don't know if that's what I want to do. I want to talk to people and I want to be involved with people. So then I actually worked with Caledon Community Services for a bit as a respite care worker. Really enjoyed it, got to meet different people, realized again, I still really do like meeting people. I enjoy myself and it's a really fun time. Still wasn't quite where I wanted to go, so then I decided to go into project management. I thought business, why not? People, sales, let's do this, let's get this. I am a very bubbly person, and if you work in an office, they don't like bubbly people. I'm too noisy, I'm loud. A lot of people like to work and sit and not have somebody who's very outgoing. So I struggled. I was trying to find my place. I didn't know who I was. Kind of wasn't sure. I felt like I fit in because I could do the job, but I never belonged anywhere. And that's kind of what got me sitting there thinking, okay, where do I need to go from here? That's when I decided to have a baby because that makes sense. So I am a stepmom as well as I have my own son who is 3 now, turning 4. So I also count that as a job because as we know, it can be very difficult to raise kids. Then the pandemic hit, which was like a whole whirlwind. So I'm now stuck at home with my child. I have no idea. My husband's working and I'm just stuck. I can't do anything I want to do. And then I just sort of lost myself. I lost who I was. I didn't know anything at all. I felt trapped. I started to get extremely stressed out. I couldn't function. I was having trouble, so because you couldn't communicate with people. You weren't allowed to be like outside of where you were. So all I had was my son. So I started researching. What can I do? Counseling, great, loved it. It worked well. I needed something else for that daily. Not just the specific stuff, I needed something daily. Then I found coaching. My luck had it where I actually was relieved of my job when I was during the pandemic, and as many others were. And I found myself with a little bit of money to be able to start over. So I decided to take my associate certification with coaching. Finally found where I belong. Not just fit in, but belong. Like, I knew this is where I belonged. So that's kind of where I am today. So I'm a post-mat leave coach. So what I do is I help other moms like myself who struggled with their identity during COVID, during having a baby, to be able to transition and move back into the workforce. It helps give them this calm, clear, sort of focused look on who they are when they're returning, whether it means that they need to return or don't need to return, and what that looks like for them. With anyone who has kids and has had to do both, there's a lot of guilt that surrounds that too. A lot of mom guilt around it, around going to work after you had a kid, around just, not wanting to spend as much time as you possibly could with your kid, but also realizing that you have your own identity as well. So struggles that come with that can come up. So that's sort of like what I do now. That's like my role as a coach. And I deal a lot with a lot of these are like stress related situations. A lot of my background, I've worked as a distress line worker, so I've had to do like suicide calls or anything that has a very high stress level that comes in, and you have to manage that when you're done. You have to manage that stress. Like, you can talk to people, but you yourself have to manage your own stress as well. Give me 1 second here. So what is coaching? Everyone's like, is it counseling? No. Is it this? Is it that? Coaching is about partnering with a person to create thought-provoking conversations. It's about having that conversation where you are the person who is in control of the entire conversation. I'm not there to tell you what to do. I'm not there to tell you, you have to go out and now do this. Or this is a technique that you can use to do this. I have techniques and I have tools that you can use, but at the end of the day, it has to be your own agency that gets you there. And a lot of the times these conversations create very imaginative approaches to your life that you never thought of. We dig deep into like limiting assumptions about yourself, biases that you've created over the years, and then we dig into that to find new ways to come out of that. So it's just a little bit different. Counseling gives a lot of advice. They give you things. I don't give any advice whatsoever. It's a little different today because this is sort of my knowledge that I'm sharing with you, but in a one-on-one, it would not be like, here, this is what you have, we talk through all that stuff. Okay? So what is stress? We've all experienced it, don't even pretend we haven't. It's a psychological and physiological response to a perceived threat. So when that happens, our body releases adrenaline and cortisol and makes it so we're in a fight, flight, or freeze response. It was originally only fight or flight, but recently, in the recent years, freeze has now become more prevalent. You'll sort of see this with a lot of trauma patients or trauma people who have experienced a very in-depth trauma. They freeze. And it's just a different type of response based off the perceived threats that are now coming in. It's just a new term for it. So with the fight or flight, back when we were like gatherers and hunters, the hunters would go out and their threats would be a lion, a bear, whatever it was that was coming at them to create that cortisol and adrenal response. So you'd be out there running as fast as you could to get away, or you would hide, or you would fight the other people or anything like that. Today, we don't have those threats in our society as much. Like, there are societies with those threats, but ours specifically, we do not. Living in a first world country, our threats have now changed, but our bodily responses have not. The response that we have is that cortisol pumping into our veins on things that were not even, for example, for myself, like I dropped my debit card today. To me, that created a response from me. A cortisol came out of I'm like, where did I put it? Where did I put it? Where could it be? I must have left it here. Oh my gosh, I have to drive back. That's not it. Like, that's a perceived threat by me. Someone else may lose their debit card and it's like, oh, well, I guess I gotta go to the bank. It just depends on the individual or the person that it is. So I'm gonna reach out to everyone now. What are some stress that you've experienced whether it's like whatever it is for you that you've experienced recently. Like what do you consider stress? Yeah.
This weekend, just recently, something that happened this weekend, we were at a restaurant, our car broke down, my sister's car broke down.
Oh dear.
And we were trying to figure out who's going to go with who to be able to go home because my aunts and uncles were there. That was really stressful. Like, just trying to figure out, like, who was going with who, and it was so confusing, and the communication was off, and it was stressing me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of happened in that situation? What responses did you notice in your body?
Frustration.
Yeah.
Like agitation. Like I just needed to figure out what the answer was. Like right away. Like right now.
Yeah.
Confusion and just like tired. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's that cortisol and adrenaline just pumps right into you from the car breaking down, the whole situation like that. Same as when I lost my debit card. Two completely different situations create the same response. So it's that pump of adrenaline and cortisol. What was it like kind of as you were realizing it or later on? How did you feel? Like you mentioned tired, like what else?
Well, afterwards it turned out to be fine. So it was almost like overreaction. I was almost like, okay, I didn't need to exert that much energy into a situation.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
But yeah, I would say I was tired.
Yeah, and one thing for our body is sometimes we can't control that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your use of the word overreaction. In that moment, your body did not understand overreaction, right?
No.
Because it's just a threat. It's a perceived threat in that moment. So your body just responded. And that's completely natural. So never feel bad for feeling stressed. It is okay to be stressed. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually okay to be stressed as long as you recognize what it is and identify the fact that is a stressor for you. That stressed you out. So you're understanding that your body went through that. So that's sort of like the first step to stress. Stress can be motivating. Stress can be something that pushes you to do things. If, for example, today I was nervous. Of course I'm nervous. I'm coming to talk in front of people. I care about it that much that I'm nervous. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be nervous at all. So don't ever it's okay to be stressed. I'm going to say it again and again. Does anyone else want to share a moment that they had? Anything at all? Thank you very much, by the way, Jessica. I appreciate that.
Well, I have one.
Sure.
My son moved.
Okay. And how was that for you?
Horrifying. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
I was excited for him,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the fast turnaround time that I found to be like within 48 hours.
Yeah, for
he was
sure.
gone. So it was more excited for him, but it was hard.
Yeah.
And then to also be calm
Yeah.
for him,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew if he saw me anxious and worried, then it would just probably impact him. So
Right.
I really didn't deal with it till after he left.
Okay, so while it was happening, what was going on for you what did it feel like to suppress that?
For me, what I feel when I'm under stress is my heart rate increases.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel like a heightened energy. Like you said, the adrenaline and whatever, you can feel it. You know it's happening, right? So for me, I feel all those same things, and just over time learning to manage that. It's a normal response to stress,
100%.
but it's what you do with it. I think
Yes.
is so for me it was just I'll just wait till he's gone, and then I'll hug the dog and all will be good.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Okay. So did you find anything different with holding it in versus if you had let it out in that moment?
In what way?
Was there any different responses in your body?
Yeah, I think for me it's being aware that it's happening and acknowledging that that's what's going on.
Right.
So I knew that's what was happening, so I've become pretty aware of those things. But earlier years, I might act out. I might be more aggressive, or I might be crying or
Yeah.
spinning and you know, and I do that. So let's
Oh,
be
yeah.
real. I was rushing around, moving things that did not need to be moved, things like that. You know,
For sure, yeah.
cleaning things that are not dirty.
Yeah. So it sounds like what happened is that instead of the fight mode,
Mhm.
you kind of went into that freeze mode a little bit more.
Yep.
And was able to sort of take it in and say, okay, like you're still moving stuff and
Yep.
doing something,
Yep.
but it's it's just that mode instead. But your body's still having the
Yep.
same responses. It's still
Mhm.
coming up. That cortisol's pumping in.
Yep.
Again, stress is okay. It's a
Mhm.
matter of knowing what it is and understanding what stress is.
Mhm.
We come in this as like stress is bad. No, we can't be stressed. It's not really like that.
Mhm.
Stress is okay to have.
There is good stress. I
Mhm.
agree with that 100%. But I think from what I understand, today's society, the stress is almost constant,
Mhm.
and to be in that constant high cortisol, high adrenaline state is not good for your health.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's yes. Hold that thought. We'll get there.
Keener.
So, some ideas that I came up with, and a lot of you actually pulled a lot of this out. I just picked more basic. So going to work. You know, we're talking about employment services. You know, when you go to work, sometimes that environment is not the most conducive. I worked in an office and they didn't like my bubbly personality. That was very stressful because I had to hold a lot of that in to be able to to do my job and do it well. There's other ways where work can be actually good, where the amount of work you're getting is the right amount of work, you're doing it on time, it's motivating, it's challenging, stressful, but you're accomplishing something. You're feeling that sense of accomplishment, which actually makes that a good stress. Some other things, obviously relationships, I think we'd all know that. Any kind of relationship, romantic or friendly, it doesn't matter. Work relationships, colleagues, school friends, again, any type of relationship. Financial problems, again, I'm sure we all understand this. Money is a flow. We sometimes have it, we sometimes don't. We sometimes have more of it, we sometimes have a lot less of it, but it's still a stress. Health issues, of course, chronic ones, acute ones, it doesn't matter, still stressful. So as you can see, I even wrote the good ones. I even wrote the babies, the new homes, the weddings. I don't know if anyone's had any of these. If you have, you understand. That is a whole nother level of stress, but there's so much reward from it that it almost counters it. And then of course, everyday events, such as a car breaking down, having trouble with that. Sun moving is a big one, but it's also like a big life change event. Traffic jams, losing your debit card. Lots of different things that can happen, right? Exams, job interviews. These are all things that will cause stress, is that cortisol pump. So as we know, the negative effects of stress that can happen. There's an inability to focus, or you're hyper-focused. You're at the point where you're literally focused on everything around you that you can't stop. And I'm sure, I don't know, I've experienced this recently where I just kept going, thinking, it's okay, it's all good, I'm just gonna ignore this feeling. And just be hyper-focused on all the things I'm doing, and then I end up being extremely stressed. Or not focus on any one particular thing. A lot of people who have chronic issues with attention have this, where they can't stay focused on one thing at a time. Their brain's already on the next topic. Stress can actually induce a lot of that. As you know, depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, inability to sleep or oversleeping, that's a big one as well. And then you're developing major health issues when you're stressed. Your body cannot take that amount of cortisol for long periods of time. We are meant to actually complete this, like complete the cycle, complete it, and be able to say, I'm good now, my body feels better. There's different ways of doing that. So, topic of the day, we got there eventually, but that's okay. It's completing that stress cycle. So what that means is coming back to that homeostasis before I lose my debit card, before your car breaks down, before your son moves, before whatever life change that it is that's occurring for you, that's pumped all that cortisol and adrenaline into your body. There are many different ways that we can do this, but the point is that it has to be something that works for you. Everybody is different. I don't live your life, I don't live your life, I live my life. And so there's different ways of coming down from that rush. And it's just, what will happen once you start to practice this and put this into practice, when you get that feeling, that inability, heart racing. You actually did mention hugging your dog.
Mm-hmm.
That is a form of completing the stress cycle. You're doing something where you're going to sit down and calm yourself down. When we used to go off many moons ago, we'd go off to war, hunting, gathering. We would come home to our families. We'd celebrate. They were home. We'd dance. We'd sing. We're running around, whatever it needs to be, hugging our family members, being able to talk about the things that we saw, stuff like that. That brought us and completed the cycle. So you actually see them being stressed and completing the cycle, where it was a perceived threat, they'd come home, then they'd complete the cycle, go back out, and that's how we complete stress. And once that occurs, once that happens, you're actually able to do it faster and quicker the more aware you are of it. So, it improves your health overall, and yeah, and well-being really. Being able to communicate better, it helps with that as well. So I don't know if anybody's ever had this, where you've had one of those days where you're like ready to rip your hair out, literally, and you come home and you're snapping at your kid, at your dog, at your family, at whatever it is. That's not completing a stress cycle. You're still in the cortisol. That cortisol is still pumping through you. That adrenaline is still pumping through you. That's what's happening there. So being able to complete that, you can come home and have those moments. Yes, there may be a new stress at home. Yes, there may be you may have to redo it again. You may have to complete the cycle again, but it's being aware that you've completed it from this task, and now you're able to focus on the next thing. So what does some of you do to complete your stress cycle? It can be good, bad, healthy. I just want to know what you do to complete your stress cycle. Kathy had the example of hugging her dog. It can literally be anything.
I call a friend. I take the
Yeah.
option, call a friend.
Wonderful. Take the option, call a friend. Yeah, of course. We talked. That's what they used to do. Talk to their family members, friends, support. Anyone? Anyone else? Newcomers? No?
Eat.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Eating, yeah. Eating is a form, because they would come home and they would have big, lavish gatherings where they would have food and people would eat.
Clean.
Yeah. Clean, yeah. Actually, cleaning is one, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What does it feel? Oh, go ahead.
For me, like, I need to be left alone for an hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes just be like, I need an hour. Like, whether that's watching something on Netflix for an hour or going outside or something. Sometimes it's just like, I just need this me time just to turn my brain off
Yeah, me time,
and
yeah.
not interact. And then after about an hour, I'm good to go.
Yeah. So that's bringing that body down. That's bringing all those cortisols and everything down to a level that you're able to now cope and move through with your day. Completely valid. Yep. Cleaning, yep. The like scrubbing and all that. What does it feel like? Whoever wants to answer. What does it feel like once you know you're ready to like start move forward from that?
For me, my body just kind of like relaxes,
Yeah.
especially when I'm playing the music. Can you play me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
What about you?
Music is good.
Yeah, same. Like I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. And it's a big difference, right? Than if you don't take that time. Like if you don't have that music going and you're not getting in your mood to get that clean on. It's different, right? When you keep going through it. How does it feel like when you don't have that time?
Tense.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't end. Like,
Yeah.
you can't get out of the cycle.
Yeah.
It's like, I need that hour or else it keeps going.
It's almost like a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
We get into these negative thoughts, we get into the depression, we get into the anxiety, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper because our body is literally pumping this into our system. It doesn't have a choice because it doesn't know to stop. It still thinks those perceived threats are there. It's helping you to survive for the time being. What do you think happens when that continues? Like other than that, like what else?
Well, I think you'd get into, like, as your muscles are tense.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's prolonged, then you're gonna end up with back pain.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're gonna just,
For sure.
and I think you can also run into other health issues like high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not allowing, that can still happen,
Mhm.
but you have to, I think it's about becoming super aware of your response to stress.
Yeah.
And how you can, like what are you noticing, and usually by the time it gets to the point where like your neck, you can't move your neck, you have lots of signs before it gets to that
Yes,
point, but you
yeah.
just kind of ignore it or what
Of
have
course.
you, right? Or you
100%.
weren't aware of.
Yeah.
So I find like one of the habits I have is I take a hot bath.
Nice.
I like to soak in bubbles with lavender, and that's
Epsom salt.
how I kind of like
Yeah.
end the day, and then Netflix is also, I would say, one of those like silly shows that have absolutely nothing to do with reality.
Yeah, and-
although they're reality shows.
Yeah, no, I
yeah, it's kind of like my thing. So it's mindless to me.
Yeah.
Like I can just tune out and not think about it. But
Background, something in the background.
Yeah.
So anything that you're doing, such as hot baths,
Mhm.
such as exercise,
Mhm.
anything like that, you're actually creating the physiological effects of bringing it down, as well as the psychological. The psychological kind of comes after,
right.
but it's that actual physiological. So I'd always encourage some form of movement that's not stressful,
Right.
such as a hot bath. You're really creating that situation. If we want to move to the next one, there's some more tips I had. So the deep breathing exercise I did. I call it 3x3 technique. There's so many different ways. You can look online. You can draw a square. That's one. There's ones where you hold your breath for 4 seconds. I cannot hold my breath for 4 seconds. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a swimmer or good at that. But so I always pick 3 seconds, and I think a lot of people respond well to that one. Exercise, 20 minutes, 20-minute walk, 20-minute yoga, 20 minutes lifting a leg on the floor. Something that takes you out of your normal cleaning. That's it. Like it's that form of exercise. It's that moving around. It's still exercise. Trust me, it's cleaning. I know. Yeah. So those are things that really get you out of that, and it's only 20 minutes. That's all it takes. 20 minutes. For myself, journaling. Write down. Like I had a bad day. This was not good. This stressed me out. And then when you kind of do that for a while and you read back, you can see the situations where it's stressful, where that's coming up consistently. Like, for example, like for your event, that was maybe a one-time event for the time. And it's okay, I understand that's where it was. But if you're continually going to work with someone who's berating you and, not being nice to you, and that's every day, and you write that down, you're going to say, I don't like the way this person talks to me. That's what's causing my stress. Can I control that? And then we sort of move into a different stage. Listening to music, calming music, doesn't matter, any kind of music. I actually use screaming music because it helps. Gets you out of your head. It pulls you into the realm of the noises and the different sounds that aren't your everyday. Spending time in nature. I go for hikes. My 3-year-old loves hikes. I don't know, he runs a lot. So he's running and I'm running, and it's just, you're not in the same area that you need. You're out somewhere else. Hobbying, something fun. Anything fun. My husband plays D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons. He plays disc golf, stuff like that, outside, moving around. And social interactions and family support, so calling a friend. I also know that giving hugs. Apparently, if you give a hug for 20 seconds, which is extremely difficult, if you try it, 20 seconds with a trusted family, or loved one or friend, whatever it is, 20 whole seconds, and you can watch your body do what we were talking about. Decreases 20 seconds. That's all it takes. One hug, 20 seconds. And then your body starts to feel it. So these are just sort of other ones that kind of comes up. We'll go to the next slide. These are the benefits. Talked about muscle, reducing muscle tension, improved mood. I know once I've done it, my mood is significantly different. I'm not snapping at my kids. I'm not having those moments. I'm understanding, I'm listening a little bit better. I'm enjoying the shows versus just escaping from it, right? You start to actually enjoy some of them. You actually think better. I don't know if anyone's been stressed trying to do a task. You go for a walk and you come back, how much easier that task seems. That's why. You're out of that cycle now. You've now created yourself this. Improved sleep, reduced stress levels. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm sorry. Okay. And it actually lowers your risk for chronic health problems. So when you're not as stressed, your chronic health issues start to go down. So diabetes, heart like you're still gonna have it, of course, like that's what happens when your body is in that state for so long, but it actually, like, the symptoms will go down from that. And then improved resilience, like you're gonna find yourself getting out of that cycle the more you practice it, faster and faster and faster. Because you're understanding it now, you're listening to your body, you hear what's going on. And then for like another stressor the next day, let's say that guy comes right back up to you and is that person you don't like again not nice to you, you're like, hold on a second, can I control this? Is this something that, this stresses me out? No, not having it. So you walk away, or whatever it is that you need to do to get away from that stressor, and you complete your cycle. That's resilience. You're creating that resilience to that. So, ways a coach can support you. As I am a coach, and that's my background and where I come from, what we tend to do is, when we're in a coaching session, sort of like what I did with you today, as you kind of noticed, I asked questions. I asked, how did that feel? Like, what did that feel like for your body? Where did that come from? We identified the stressor. We're identifying what is it that is stressing you out. I could literally list hundreds of things that stress me out, as all of us can. Someone yelling at you, simple as, you trip on something, whatever it is, like a relationship with a family. It can go from very serious stressors all the way down to very simple stressors that you can eliminate quickly. But it's identifying the one that you know that you can work on. It's the one that you want to make that change. And you're ready to make that change, because I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you that you need to change this. That's on you. Like, that's up to you. I think you're amazing just the way you are, and everybody has different tools and things like that, but sometimes we just need that little extra push to get us to feel to feel good inside. And that's what a coach does. Once we've kind of identified that stressor, I'll ask a lot of thought-invoking questions to bring that awareness up. Some people don't like it because it can be a little bit invasive, but I think invasive is actually the wrong word. It's challenging. Anytime you're addressing something that you don't like, it's challenging to address that. It's challenging to say, that conversation with my husband, I don't want to have it. I don't want to. It's too stressful. Okay, what's making you not want to have that conversation? How can we have that conversation? What would it look like to have that conversation? So it's creating that perspective around the stressor. It's saying, what are your normal habits and behaviors around this stressor? And how can we come to a place where you're comfortable, but also challenging yourself to get past that stressor? Once you get there, it becomes a plan almost, because your head starts thinking. It's going, well, I usually do this, but maybe I could try this and maybe this. What can you control too, right? In this plan, like, what is it that you can actually control? You can't control how people talk to you. Like, you just can't. Unfortunately, like, even today I heard a lady being completely rude to somebody while she was like ordering her coffee or something. Like, it was just unbelievably rude. I'm not even sure what she wanted at that point. I felt like she was just mad. And the cashier on the other side was being really nice, but you could tell she was getting stressed. Like, her anxiety was going up. You could feel it. But she can't control how that customer talks to her. She can only control how she's reacting to it. So that's out of her control. The most she can say, she can actually walk away from the situation too. I know it's tough. It's like one of the hardest things to do, but to separate yourself and give that boundary for a moment and then come back to it is probably one of the best ways to complete a stress cycle. You're actually removing yourself from it. So again, it's developing these plans together. What works for you? Like, for example, you may be comfortable with approaching somebody. Graham may not. So he may not be comfortable. So it'd be a different plan. It's very personalized, actually. And then you set achievable goals. We would all love to just like magically wave a wand and everything will be amazing. It doesn't really work that way. You have to set the smaller goals, and they're just as valid and important as the main goal. I'm sure even with cleaning, it's like, I'm gonna clean this whole house today, and then you get halfway in and you're like, I'm not cleaning this whole house today, but hey, I cleaned the bathroom, I cleaned this, I did this. It's the small steps, they're the ones that are gonna give you the most excitement, and it will actually, again, complete the cycle. You're giving yourself endorphins instead of cortisol. So your body's responding in a way that's like, oh yes, this is awesome, this is perfect, I love it. So that's sort of what we go through. We go through what's actually achievable and what's sort of like the dream state. Where do we want to be and how do we get there? And then of course encouragement. Encouraging every single moment we're together talking, you did a good job. That's what you did. You did that and that's different. And encouraging that. Motivating in a way like of what is it that you want to do, don't want to do, and then encouraging that. And then of course accountability. So again, this is the part people struggle with coaches too. We do hold you accountable, but we're also extremely non-judgmental. If you didn't do something, I'm not going to say, why didn't you do that? Because that's a judgment call. I'm saying, why didn't you do that? Instead, it's what obstacles came up for you that didn't allow you to be able to do that this week? What challenges did you face that you were not expecting to then be able to get through that? So that's a little bit different way for how coaches work. We're really on your team. Like we're in your corner cheering, rooting for you, we're clapping, but we're also like, yep, get up, let's go. Like we're gonna keep going because I know you can do it. I know you can, and I believe everybody can make the changes that they want to make. They just have to want it. I can't force you, and I won't. I never will. So yeah, that's kind of how a coach can support. Other stuff, I have a couple of books on the table there if anyone wants to have a look. These are where I really get a lot of like some of the tips and tricks that I've heard of a toolkit. It has 53 different ways that you can deal with stress. Love it. You can like write stuff. It's like bubble work, talking, how to have conversations, and for modern life. So it's not the perceived threat of the lion. It's like a job interview or this or that. Some other stuff is counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists. We don't play in the realm of like psychology. If we find that there's like a major mental challenge that you're struggling with, we will refer you to like a psychologist or a counselor because we feel that they will be the best ones to help you. But that doesn't mean that we won't be there with you along the way. We're still there to help. We're still there to partner with any psychologists or counselors or anything like that. It's just a second resource, and we know our limitations, like definitely. And you can tell. It's very easy to tell. Especially my background being in psychology, I do sort of know I have seen the difference in what it does. And I've obviously thrown coaches, doctors, and trusted family and friends. They can be really good resources. There's a reason I put trusted, because not everybody has a family and friends. If I just put family and friends, you may think it's okay to go to somebody who's not very supportive for you. So definitely pick a trusted one. It's very important. Okay, that's my presentation. Thank you. I would like today to ask this last question. Don't have to have something. It doesn't have to be big, but sort of like, what is one change or one thing that you would like from this presentation, like what you've learned, and how you want to apply it now to today, right now? If I had to throw this out there for you. Yep.
Well, I think one thing that I would like to take away from this session today is that it's really important to be able to recognize the different types of stressful situations and your responses, your typical responses to it. So that way, you're going to be able to control the outcome.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly
And so
it.
I'm gonna do more of that. I'm gonna try to do more of that to be more effective. Like, for example, if I'm getting stuck in traffic and I'm getting stressed about getting somewhere on time, I'm just gonna take it easy, take a deep breath, say I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
Right?
You would be very surprised how many people are okay with people being late now. They understand, like if you say, hey, I got stuck in this traffic jam, and being honest with that, they're usually pretty okay with it. I mean, we have the doctors who charge you like an arm and a leg if you're like an hour late. Chances are you're probably only gonna be 5 or 10 minutes late. Very normal. So how are you gonna hold yourself accountable to that? Because like you told me that now, but what is it when you're actually in that situation that's gonna anchor you to that comment?
Well, as Kathy said, I'm going to be looking out for those symptoms, for the early warning signs, and then uh-oh, I think I'm getting nervous. What's causing that? Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's probably because I'm stuck in traffic and I'm getting every
Exactly.
single red light, and I'm in a single lane and there's somebody driving 40 in front of me in the 50 zone.
No, exactly, and that's it.
It's a lot of detail, Art.
Right, it is.
And you can tell I've been through this more than once, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly it. It's detail work. You have to actually say, I'm stressed. That's okay. But I don't want to stay stressed. I want this to kind of move through me. And that's okay too. It's okay to have stress. I'm going to stress that and stress it and stress it. It is okay to be stressed. It's a matter of being able to come out of that stress and return to your homeostasis, sort of. Anyone else? Any changes they want to commit to?
I think your comment there that I saw in print, it said identify, and my mind was saying understand. I need to understand what it is that's stressing me, because what would stress Kathy might not stress me, or what would stress Jessica might not stress me. So I kind of I'm gonna do more work on that, and how does that make you feel, and how does that make you feel, and what's the root of this? Why is this stressing me out? Because then I think I'll be able to adjust to it on a more timely basis, and it become part of who you are naturally than having to work on it all of the time.
And I'm not sure if anyone's had this, but where you get distracted by what you think should stress you out and it doesn't, and then suddenly you're stressed out because someone else said that you should be stressed out, and now your brain is going and you're like, wait a minute, but I'm not actually stressed about that. I'm stressed about this. So it's really being clear on what it is that you're stressed about, because other people are going to tell you what you're stressed about, and I'm going to tell you it's probably not right.
And what you shouldn't be stressed about.
Yeah, and what
That's
you shouldn't.
almost
Yes,
just as
shouldn't
bad.
is like not as.
When someone says, don't be stressed about, that's nothing. And I'm like, well.
Yeah, one of Paul Newman's famous sayings I live by, I will not shit on myself today.
Yes.
Yes.
No, exactly. That's exactly
That's
it.
great.
We don't use should at all in coaching. We don't use you should this, you should that. It's all about like, what do you want to do? And there really isn't a right answer, because it's, do you feel better?
Right.
Are you in a homeostasis now? Perfect. And you know what? Sometimes you gotta switch it up too. It may not always work the same. Like going home for that 1 hour, maybe it's a tougher day. Maybe it takes 2 hours. Maybe it takes totally scrapping that and you're going out for a walk for an hour instead, right? Like some days are just gonna be different. Maybe it's a workout. I know recently I had to switch to a workout instead of just journaling, because I'm like, this notepad's making me mad now. So like you have to switch. Like you kind of have to switch it up too, right? So it's good to have a lot of different techniques. So everyone sharing kind of what they do sort of helps you see like it's all normal. It's all okay, and everybody's response to it is going to be different, just knowing how you can handle it yourself.
Yeah, and another thing about coaching that was recently pointed out to me, someone said, anyone that excels at anything does it with a coach.
100%.
Like an
I have
Olympic
a coach.
athlete
Yeah.
has a coach.
Yeah.
A sports star has a coach. Actors have coaches. If
Yeah.
you want to do well in something, why do people say, well, I should be able to do it without a life coach,
Yeah.
or I should be able to do it on my own, right? Like, why do they say that? So
Yeah.
that was really interesting to me.
It's the do-it-yourself attitude.
Yeah.
It's I can do this myself. I can do all my banking myself. I know how to do it. But there are people who literally have jobs to do your banking. So like, let them do it. Then that's one stress you don't have to think about anymore. Marketing. I'm sure you understand. You're marketing. Marketing. That's what you do. Cool. Now you don't have to worry about, accounting and all the other things. That's why jobs, like when you go to any like job place, they have different roles. So not one person isn't doing it all. Right? Even CEOs don't do everything. Let's be real. They don't.
I think I just want to, kind of tie this into the work that we're doing here at CCS as well, because I think like the coaching aspect is an important piece, and it's about, yes, you can do anything. I say this to my kids all the time. You can do anything you put your mind to, but you can sometimes do it better with support. And there might be somebody who might just know something a little bit differently, or might be able to package it in a different way.
Yeah.
So like the job coaches that we have here, when you're in the job seeking mode, whether it's a new job, a better job, or a different career that you're looking at, it's having someone to kind of bounce the ideas off of and to help you with the direction. I love that slide where you talked about the advantages of the coaching, because I think that's really important. It can be someone you know, it can be a friend, it can be a professional coach, it can be anybody, but you have to choose to be open to someone else presenting some other ideas, or have you thought of this, or would you because I think that's a really important piece, and to know that in that job search journey, or if it's a newcomer coming in to the country that is needing some help with language or settlement, or it's a young person, there's someone available to help guide you, and it doesn't mean they have all the answers to everything. I think you mentioned it earlier as well.
Definitely.
It's connecting you to those resources that you need, because sometimes when you're in a significant amount of stress, it's really hard to see out of it when you're in it. And what you've said today is, let's take it a step back, and what are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then when you can identify it, then you can do something about it. But you can't get there if you're stuck in that, if you haven't completed the cycle.
Yes.
So I love that analogy. I love it.
Yes, definitely. Because if the cortisol just pumps, and all it does is just mess with your body. That's all it does. It's just pumps, till the point that there's nothing left, and then there's literally nothing left you can do, because your body's done. You get sick, all the things that I mentioned, right? Yeah.
It's also important to recognize when other people are in this cycle, that they're acting a certain way, and it's not that they're being mean or whatever it is, it's they're in the cycle. So what are they saying behind the words that they're saying?
100%.
And don't take it personally, because they might just be in the red zone, and they don't have that language to say what they should in a certain way. They're going about it in maybe a more aggressive way or whatever, and it's important to recognize, okay, well, maybe they're in a stress cycle, so I can't take this personally and cause my own stress cycle and get sucked into their tornado.
Exactly. Yes.
Somebody's, when they're in a stress cycle, they can create their own tornado they pull you into, and it's
100%.
important to be like, okay, they're having their thing, so I'm not going to take it personally, so I'm going to help them get out of it.
Yeah, and that's it's a topic on its own around setting boundaries with yourself and being able to separate yourself from that tornado and say, the first step is still identifying that tornado is happening in that person. So great, already one step ahead there. And that is like the setting of a boundary. So you're saying that person is having their tornado, that person is having their own stress cycle. It's not my stress cycle, so I don't need to stress about that.
And then also being empathetic of them to
Yeah.
realize, okay, they're behaving like that because
100%.
this, so I'm not going to judge them also.
Right. And even asking, you'd be surprised to be like, well, wait a minute here, what's going on here? What's happening right now? What's this response? I'm getting a lot of frustration. I'm sensing stress. People will respond very quickly to that, because that's that empatheticness, right? It's like, wait, they're not getting sucked in, why not? And then they pause and they're like, oh, it's me. Sometimes. But keep in mind that like asking that is also like a really good way of just breaking their tornado, by identifying with them. Hey, what's going on here? I actually ask it a lot in my coaching. What's going on here? You seem really angry at me for some reason. And then they realize, oh, it's not you, it's this, and this. It's like, okay, now we can work with that. Or we're just angry.
A clue for me in that is if someone is behaving what I would deem as out of character, if there's something, and then you say, whoa, something's going on here, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You can watch for that.
Even in character, if you notice someone's doing it a lot, usually that means that that's something going on, not beyond you, right? Or if you see the response with other people that way, definitely. But yes, both. It's all about being aware. It's all about identifying your own and where you are, and understanding other people are individuals as well, and they're going to be somewhere totally different.
My takeaway would be to actively complete the cycle, whether it's taking a bath or cleaning or just finding a way to like exit. Just because you get stressed out and you're like, okay, time's going on, I feel a little bit better, but it's still there. Like you still you're like, if someone brings it up, you're right there. Like, you know, and so
Touchy.
Yeah, exactly. So like just to be able to complete it, because it is true. Like let's say like I cleaned the house or I took a nice bath. I look at what I was stressed out about, and it seems manageable. Or at the time, there was no way. It was very overwhelming, very in the red zone. So, yeah, I think actively doing it just so you can practice it and you can deal with it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken that away.
Awesome. What's going to hold you to that, to make sure that you're completing that cycle?
I would say the next time that I recognize that I'm stressed, that I would either journal, listen to music, take a bath, clean, really tell myself, okay, what happened, why were you feeling a certain way, take myself out of that zone and kind of close that chapter, and then if it happens again, hopefully I'll be able to identify it faster and start over.
Wonderful, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Just want to make sure everyone gets a chance. I don't want anyone to feel like they can't answer. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
very
out
much.
today. Appreciate it.
I wondered if you could share kind of what the next 2 sessions are.
Sure, yeah, of course I can. So, the next session is going to be about preparing and managing your anxiety specifically before a job interview. So, this is kind of like very general, as you can tell. It's about completing any kind of stress cycle. This is more specifically regarding a job interview. So, in accordance with employment services, it just gives you sort of that way to prepare your mind and actually, let you know that you have a lot of agency when it comes to job interviews. Like, it's not just about whether you're a good fit for them, it's whether they're a good fit for you. Because as I explained earlier, a job I had was not a good fit for me, but I got a lot of work done for them, so lucky them, right? But not for me. So keeping that in mind that, like, yes, you need a job, yes, and that's okay, but it's also okay to want one that's you want, so that you're going to be happy, so you're not switching it up again later on. So it's a little bit more about in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the next one.
And that's the next one, so
Monday.
that's next Monday. And then the following one after that is how to build confidence in the workplace. So how you can be yourself in a workplace and not like Natalie, me, not yourself. It's about belonging in the place that you're working, how you can get some promotions, how to build that confidence in yourself where you're saying, I got this, I can do this every single day and I know what I'm doing. Even if you don't. Because it's about knowing that in yourself, that your strengths are there and what they are.
Right.
So it's just sort of getting into touch with your values.
That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for that summary. So if
No
you haven't
problem.
registered yet, please do.
Yes, please.
Shameless plug.
That's
But thank you
okay.
so much. Really appreciate
Yeah, no
the
problem.
conversation today. And
Wonderful.
hopefully it continues the conversation as we take some of this away with us. So
Yeah,
thank you
wonderful.
so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.